Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Tuesday Talks with Ashley, Hannah, and Angelo Datseris. Let me see, we have some special guests today. And make sure that we have got everybody we're supposed to have with us on. We have Peter Gallo on with us today. Hey Peter.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
You can hear me okay?
Yep. Now, let's just hope that Angelo can hop on with us
Okay.
and we can get going. So I had a few people ask some questions for us today, which is always awesome.
Okay.
So we have some topics to talk about.
Okay, well, hopefully I can help in some way or I can answer.
I'm sure you can.
Hopefully they don't want to know my address so they can come and with a crate of tomatoes.
Oh, that's terrible.
Interesting times, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only had that thought of wanting to do that with a appraiser once or twice this year.
Yeah. Well, it's hard because everything that's happened over the past 12 years with regulation and really communications kind of broken down between all the players in real estate, and it would really be nice for us all to kind of get back together and be able, hey, Ange.
What's going on, Pete? What's going on?
I've seen Ashley more lately than I've seen you.
Well, you must not be watching my Friday Facts enough, Pete.
No.
What's going on? Thanks for joining, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ange was one of my first clients when I came down from Buffalo in 2004.
Yep.
Wow.
He's like, you actually answer the phone when I call.
Yeah, you're my guy.
One of the
You've
things
been my
we
guy
like
ever
about
since.
Angelo.
What's that, Ash?
That's one of the things we like about Angelo.
Yes. Yep. I answer the phone. That's hard to come by nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah.
Answering the phones. Well, thanks, Pete. I know me and Ashley have been kind of talking about it for last couple weeks about, man, we need to talk about getting an appraiser on here. I was like, man, we should get Pete on here. And 2 weeks ago, we were like, man, let's go ahead and I'm gonna reach out to him after this and ask to see if he can join us next week. And then I reached out to you like an hour beforehand, and then, so that didn't work.
Yeah.
So now you had a week's notice, so I appreciate you coming on here. Appraisals right now are a topic of contention with lending because time frame, for one, it's just taking so much time for appraisals. There's just a backlog, it seems. Everybody is so busy, and there's a big delay with getting appraisals back in a timely fashion. And prices are kind of jacking up the prices on appraisals too. So just wanted to get your feedback on kind of what's going on in the market, with just appraisals in general. And also I know, appraisals a year ago or a year and a half ago versus appraisals 6 months ago, and how like the way that the home values are skyrocketing, and how people that are offering over ask, how that's like affecting I guess values going forward, and and moving to different pockets and stuff. So if you can speak to that without without
anything else you want to throw in there?
I know I put you on the spot, but you are a very intelligent man, and you're my go-to when it comes to appraisals. But I mean, you have always helped, and you shoot me straight all the time. You shoot me straight.
Yeah.
You're like, no, and sorry, it's you know what? It's a pipe dream. It's not gonna happen. Or then you're like, all right, well, you have a good case if it's and you kind of help me with composing just kind of point me in the right direction of kind of where to look at. So I appreciate all your knowledge, your industry knowledge, and just your friendship over the years as well.
So our audience today is agents and brokers, right? So
like it could be clients
or whomever.
Yeah, whomever, agents, clients,
Okay.
real estate. Yeah, yep.
So all right. So we there was a lot in there.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start with like the backlog of appraisals. Like, what are you seeing? Like the amount of appraisals that are getting done. Like, are you having to schedule farther out because there's so many? The amount of volume. Are you kind of seeing that as well?
Well, everything you asked, even though they're all separate, they're kind of all interrelated, those questions, because what appraisers are dealing with are the same thing that everybody's dealing with, especially agents and brokers, which is trying to figure out what's going on. And it takes more time to figure it out. It takes more time. We are seeing a lot of reconsiderations of value where we're basically being asked questions after the fact, after the report, which is usually self-contained. It's supposed to be everything's explained in that report, but people don't usually read the reports. They just look at that number. At least that, so there's a lot of information in the appraisals, and we put a lot of effort, especially into the more difficult properties, the more complex they are, the more time we spend on writing them up. And actually, I just had one where I spent a lot of time on it, and there were a lot of little historic districts around the property. It was just a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath, but it was tough. And I spent a lot of time driving around, looking at looking for comparables and looking at sales to see if they were comparable, and spent a lot of time on the report. And of course, Friday I got a reconsideration of value, just 3 sales. None of them were 2-bedroom, 1-baths. They were all 3-bedroom, 2-baths. And so it's that type of thing that we have to stop what we're doing, that we might be working on another report, to go and take our time out to answer these questions that it's already in the report. And so there's that. There's just a lot more than we're dealing with in general. Ashley,
Well, to kind of piggyback on what you just said, Peter, with agents or brokers or whoever coming back to you and asking for a reconsideration or a question about a value, I guess I may be in the minority in that I like to read my appraisal reports, and I love all the value that is provided in them. I think it's really helpful, and I think that agents that aren't reading them through, both the ones that need to be reconsidered or don't need to be reconsidered, I think they're doing a disservice, because there's a lot of absolutely powerful information in it. Now, with that being said, you just mentioned the reconsiderations of value. How are you adjusting for the current market conditions that we are experiencing with the large value increases that are happening not only month over month, but in a lot of areas week over week? There is a value appreciation, in my opinion, that I'm seeing from the time a house goes under contract to the time a house is sold. So how are you adjusting?
Yeah, so again, there's a few different things there. One is appraisals aren't magic. We rely heavily on brokers and agents and MLS data. We are experts in what we need to know with the MLS. So it's very important for agents and brokers to make sure they're getting everything in the MLS and being accurate.
That's interesting.
But and another thing that we depend on, before there was the MLS on the internet, we had books in the back of our cars, comparable books.
Wow.
And we would have to go and visit brokers and agents in the field. When we're out inspecting a property, I mean, that's just how it used to be done. And so it's not like, I know there's all this thing, don't talk to appraisers. It's don't talk to us. Don't, you know, give me $100 and try and tell me to come in at value. I mean, that's the type of thing.
Right.
I mean, that's what we need to talk, and we need to communicate, and you need to meet the appraiser, or at least leave whatever information, if you're a listing agent, leave it on the kitchen table or meet the appraiser. We're adults, we're professionals. Tell us whatever you want to tell us, and we'll sift through it, and we're the ones that decide what's credible or not, and what to include in a report. So you tell us, but just, you know, I mean, what you don't want to do is you don't want to say, I really need this and we need that. You know, that's not the attitude to which you give us your CMA. This is what you use to comp the property. I know you might have seen this one sale on the street, but I know about that one and this is what happened. You know, that type of information is helpful. So what you said about the big disparities between contract when it goes under contract versus today, you see that a lot with new construction. You see, especially now with the delays in new construction, you'll see contracts from 6-8 months ago to where the market is now. So what we do as appraisers is we look at the trends. We look at historical data through the MLS and whatever we can find, and you can make time adjustments. If you can see a consistent trend one way or another, and not like this, but actually a straight line in some direction over time, you can figure out what type of percent change in the market is happening, and apply that to the date that the properties are going under contract, your comps, versus today, and kind of and adjust that way. There's a lot of different, but appraisers are looking at trends, and just like agents and brokers, you're pricing properties, you're looking at listings and comparables, you're looking at the competition that's out there right now. And if you see consistency, you're not looking, appraisers, I just did this with Lee Brown the other day, and we said one sale doesn't make a market.
Right.
You have to look at those anomalies, and you kind of have to figure out those don't come to me with the one sale that sold for $1 million, but that's on the corner, and that's the only property with the lake view where everything else is looking at the Walmart or something like that. So it's weeding that out, putting information together, making it credible and reliable and making it readable and understandable to whoever our client is. And the client is not the person or who's paying for the appraisal. It's who engages the appraiser. So Ashley, you might be the listing agent and your client's the borrower that Ange is helping out, but Ange's company or another lender is paying the appraiser. Ange is the client,
right,
and his company's the client. And you can talk to Ange, and Ange can relay the information to me. But you can't call me up after the report's done and go over the report with me as an agent. It's done at that point. You can't talk to me about the report. I can't disclose report results. Right? The time to do that, the time to talk, and the time to give me information is before I deliver the report.
You deliver the report. Yeah.
Right. Once I deliver the report, it's over, and that's a delineate, because now we're in the point where then you can do a reconsideration. But really, any appraiser, there's a lot of issues with the reconsideration, because really the only reason the intent of a reconsideration is that you've seen the report and you've seen the results, and you don't agree with them. So it's not really truly about getting accuracy. It's more about having a difference of opinion with what the appraisers come up with. So that whole kind of environment changes. Whereas before, when we're out there inspecting, we're in the information and development stage
Right.
of the appraisal process. And that's when we just got something today, a spreadsheet with a bunch of comparables. Well, why didn't you, and a bunch of commentary, well, why didn't you give this to us before we wrote the report? Because it's not about that. It's not about the accuracy. I mean, and that's really the perception. Whether that's true or not, I don't want to say that for everything, but the perception, certainly on the appraiser's part, is going to be that it's just argumentative. It's not really about, and don't use terms like low value, high value. What you want to say for an appraiser to take you serious, or to really, is credible, reliable, accurate. It's not an accurate report. Well, why? Now that's factual. Those are factual. They're not. Low value is relative. It's not. It's low in what regard to
Yeah.
what, the contract. Well, we're not. Yeah. So.
So when you have, okay, I had a situation in a neighborhood, and so this appraisal came back $10,000 off the mark. And I've heard, Peter, I've heard as an agent, either to provide comps, provide information and sheets to appraisers. And then I've also heard that, no, that's unethical. I'm with you on, I like to provide stuff ahead of time. And for this particular appraisal, I actually did. And there were several things that were under contract that would be considered a comparable property, right? Within the close vicinity, same, the least amount of adjustments are going to need to be made on it. But it was under contract at the time. That I understand that you only use a sold property, right? Sold properties are used when determining value. Is that correct?
Well, no. I mean, as comparables, I mean, you can use pendings and listings. But you need, for Fannie Mae guideline, for the GSE guidelines, and any investor guidelines, you need at least 3. With the form we're using now closed, but we consider many more. They're in our work file. It's just the 3 best are meant. You need to have the first 3. So go ahead.
Well, because what's happening is the list price isn't actually the price a lot of properties are going under contract at. They're going under contract much higher than that.
Oh, sure. Well, we see that too. I mean, we see that when we do the list to sale price ratios. I mean, they've definitely, that's another thing that's just, I mean, we've just started seeing in the past couple months that I've never seen here in Charlotte. Our houses selling significantly over list, 10, 15, 20%, depending, on the, but, so what was your question?
So how do you take in consideration that?
And then again, you see that ratio, and if it's a straight line kind of thing, where we're seeing, you can apply that as well as a list to sale price ratio on your pendings, on your listings, when you use those as in your appraisal. If I'm on the grid using a listing or a pending as a comparable, I can use a list to sale price ratio. If it's 105%, if that's what's been happening, then I can make an adjustment to the listings and pendings in there. And that would go along with the time adjustments for the closed comps, and it should paint a picture of what's happening. But you really need those closed sales though.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to convince you can't base your value on listings or pendings.
Yeah. And then, so the best practice for agents, because I have heard agents have different schools of thought on this, is do you change the price in the MLS when it's pending to whatever the contract price is? Or do you do it to, or do you leave it, and once it's closed?
You can't.
Right.
You can't. Well, that's an MLS thing. It's I think where you can't. Well, plus it's a you can't reveal offers I mean, there's something in there with, you don't want to cross that line where you're revealing an offer. That's our as a broker and an agent that we have to follow, for licensing law, or for that you can't reveal offers. So to put a contract, what you have, into the MLS is really revealing an offer that might change, because then what happens if that deal falls through? Then
Right.
everybody's going to know what was offered and what was accepted. So I'm pretty sure you can't do that. So, but again, we're looking at the market and seeing a consistent for a certain area. When we break it down, seeing that it's 105% or 102% of list price is what's happening with that's the trend. So then we can apply that.
So it can't be just one sale. So if like 2 or 3
No.
or 4 sales kind of happen, and you see, let's say 102 or 103%, then you can theoretically
It's supportable.
apply that. You can support that because you have more
Right.
than just one sale. That's interesting.
Right.
Okay, that's very good to know.
Right. Yeah, and everything needs to be supported. You can't. I mean, that's. There's so many different things that we can do as appraisers. I mean, this is the. Oh, it's backwards. The appraisal of real estate. Okay, it's the 15th edition from the Appraisal Institute, and there's a lot of language, a lot of principles, and it's a very good book if you're really into real estate and you really want to know what an appraiser learns and how they think. Look this up on Amazon.
What's it called?
And it's called The Appraisal of Real Estate. It's offered through the Appraisal Institute.
Perfect.
But and then the other one is this, which is our Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, which these are our ethical guidelines. And we're not advocates. We are supposed to be unbiased. We're professionals at being not biased, So if we violate anything in here, then our appraisal board, licensing board will take us up on it. And
Wow,
we're at risk of losing our license if we violate.
I mean, this is like phenomenal information, Pete. Thanks so much. I mean, those books are gigantic too.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sure they're always those books are gigantic, and I'm sure they're always changing as well.
They are. I mean, USPAP changes every 2 years, and I'm not sure about the big book, but this is the 15th edition, and they're all indexed though. So you want to know about adjustments, you look up in the index about it's really about speaking the same language. And appraisal didn't come from nowhere. It came from the practice and discipline of real estate brokers and agents. I mean, it's just way back when we needed to have some guidelines on how, a little more mathematics or statistics behind how we do, consistency behind how we do things and how we support things. And it's just evolved according to the lender's needs, the client's needs. And we're just talking about mortgages. I mean, there's, divorce, all kinds of different practices that real estate appraisers engage in.
Well, kind of with that, like a different line of questioning that somebody sent in to me for you, Peter, was when a homeowner is doing a remodel on their house, whether it's redoing a bathroom or, some people even add bathrooms or whatever, add on to, when should they look at getting an appraisal after the fact? Or maybe if they want to add value to their home, what are some of the best things people can do?
Oh, well, that's a question everybody, and it varies. There isn't going to be kitchen baths, that type of thing. I've never used my phone to, and I'm getting a phone call, so now I don't know what to do.
Decline it. Decline
So,
it.
This is
okay.
decline it.
Oh, are you there? I
Yeah.
lost my earpiece. I have a keyboard in my phone now. Let's get rid of that.
Yeah, I have to go on do not disturb when I do these. So
Sure, I
so
even know how
that
to
doesn't
do
happen.
it. Let me see if I at least get my earpiece back. Hold on a second.
You're doing good so far, Peter.
Yeah, Pete, good job.
It took Angelo and I a few times to get the hang of things.
Yeah, it did. Did you see the? I'm not sure if Pete saw, but did you see the question from Jesse?
Yeah, so no, we're here.
We're back.
My earpiece is gone, so can you hear me okay, though?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear just as good.
So, hit the remodels. So it's really the purpose of an appraisal. You have to determine what the purpose of an appraiser. Somebody might call us up. We need to know what the purpose is going to be. So you really have to. You could do it beforehand. Yeah, I mean to figure out. But what the appraiser needs is a specific. We really need specifics. We need to know what you're doing exactly so that we can support. So we can respond to that. So detailed specifications, plans, and specs that we can have for a work file. Nothing that we do. Everything that we do has to comply with this book. So if you're contacting me as an appraiser in the state of North Carolina, I have to follow the uniform standards of professional appraisal practice, which means I have to have a work file. If you're engaging me in any way, I have to conduct myself according to that book. So that means I can't be at a barbecue and Ange saying, "Hey, well, what do you think about that house across the street?" Or "What do you think of this?" And "What do you think it's worth?" As soon as if I engage in that, I'm an appraiser conducting doing an appraisal. So I have to have a work file. I have to have backup.
Right.
I have to support everything. I can't just talk, off the seat of my pants and
Oh, Lord.
so.
I bet people try to hit you up at barbecues all the time.
Yeah. Well, you can talk in generalities like we're talking, but as soon as you hone in on a specific property, and that's
Address.
when, but we can talk general concepts and things all the time. And that's what's fun. And I enjoy talking about specific properties too, but I have to understand as an appraiser, and that's my job. And my responsibility is to know what the boundaries are and
Right.
when to stay in them. So
I have a question. How many times do you see, let's say, if like a listing agent that's they're under contract? How many times or how often do you see listing agents actually meet you at the house to give you the rundown on either the neighborhood, the house, what was done to it? Are you seeing 50%, 20%? If no, you know what I'm saying?
I think probably about a third of the time we're getting, if we're not meeting the agent, we're having some kind of communication. Either it's there on the countertop, or we're getting emailed. Or when I make the appointment, I'm emailing, and I would say, any information you want to send, feel free. Just reply to my email.
Do it now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, because too, an appraiser is going to be less likely to want to change anything once it's done. Besides all the other reasons, no appraiser wants two reports out there with two different values, because that's basically, then you miss something, or it's a liability kind of thing. But also, even if we found something, our responsibility is to make those corrections or make revisions if on our own we discover something that we missed, let alone if somebody else. We do have that obligation. But just to get all the highest sales in a neighborhood or in a development, we, after the fact, you're not really going to get much of a response from an appraiser. I mean, because we have to consider all of the sales and all of the data, and we have it in our work file. And there isn't an appraiser out there that doesn't have a work, because if they don't have a work file, then they're violating this. But
well, and I feel like, though, you probably see different engagement from listing agents depending on the market. Because, for example, yes, I always want as a listing agent, I will always want my client's house to appraise for what it sells for. That is best case scenario for everybody. However, if people are putting in offers that are way above anything that I've comped for the property, and they understand that risk, I am less likely to build a case for an appraiser on something that I don't necessarily think is a true value for a house.
Oh yeah, well, there's a lot there. Okay, so one is, as an agent, as a listing agent, you don't want to accept just the highest offer. You want to accept the one that's most likely to go to close. So that's your, I mean, really, you can, unless they just want it and they want to take their chances, but you can't go into an auction using somebody else's money. I mean, you're using the lender's money. It's not your money. Now, if it's cash, it's a different story, and then everything's free, But when you're using somebody else's money to go into a situation where you really want the property, well, I'm going to bid 50, whatever over. I mean, there's other entities involved in that you're going to have to face at one point or another, and to do that, and certainly realize that, and you should be advising your clients that, look, don't bite off more than you can chew, and don't accept anything that doesn't have a good chance. There isn't a plan for if the appraisal comes in low, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing due diligence like we've never seen before. We're seeing waivers of everything, and that. So you want to show, and that's just where we are right now.
Right. I don't think that it's sustainable. I do think like that this particular circumstance is definitely a circumstance of the market we are in currently. But I mean, when I'm a listing agent, I want my clients to get the highest offer, like you said, that I think can close, right? So whether that's a high due diligence fee, and I know that they can make up any difference between list price and sales price, I want to see that, right? And then beyond that, that's where I'm like, okay, you understand the risk because I've listed the house on what I knew it would appraise for. You now understand that you're buying a house that I cannot justify the price.
Right, and that's, again, going back to appraisals aren't magic. We're all dealing with the same data.
Right.
Yeah.
You think you're going to have a problem with the appraisal? You're going to have a problem with the appraisal. So you want to supply everything, supply your CMA, do your things, but be prepared, whichever side you're on. If you know you're going in with an offer, before you make that offer, have a plan. Because once that offer is accepted, all those other offers go away.
That's true.
And people find so you're going to be stuck with that one offer and trying to work that out, and then you wind up and now you got to renegotiate.
Wow.
It is definitely better to be a listing agent in this market. As somebody who's on both sides of the fence, I mean, if you're a listing agent, you definitely are sitting a little bit better.
You got the upper hand for sure. Yeah.
But
so how are you doing with with appraisal issues? Are you seeing, how are you dealing with them? What's like maybe a consistent, just the value that's the consistent problem?
Yeah, well, the consistent problem, when it doesn't come in, and it's always usually brought to the attention of, my borrowers, like, this is probably not going to appraise for this price, and are you willing to go over in cash for the difference? Some clients are not. Some borrowers, when I go into, I've been having this speech a lot more now than I have previously, because we didn't really have an over ask issue, you know what I'm saying? Or this has become problematic now. So it's like, all right, do you understand? And I think the last couple clients, borrowers I spoke with, they're like, I'm glad you told me that, because I would have never known that. Oh, what do you mean? If it doesn't appraise, I have to make up the difference. So I'm having that conversation a lot more now than I ever have, ever in my 18 years of doing this, because it's never been like this in the amount of time that I can remember. So it's just making them aware. So then because like you said, Pete, because you're going to have to face that problem at some point in time if they're asking over, you know what I'm saying, or if they're offering over what the ask is. So it's either I deal with it on the front end to cushion the blow on the back end. Basically, it's kind of like, hey, just so you're aware of this is, if it doesn't appraise, you will have to make up the difference. And a lot of people are like, you know what? Yeah, I mean, I want the house. And so it's been, I'd say 95% have come up off the hip of to making up the difference. And I've had one or two renegotiate the price, but usually it's them coming off it, because they know right now if they put it back on the market, that's probably going to be under contract in another day. So
it's funny how everything kind of normalizes at whatever level we're at, and you start having these conversations, and then it just becomes, everybody just kind of understands, and it takes more of the pressure, it takes a lot of pressure off. You have those conversations, and that's one thing that appraisers rely on is hoping that good lenders, good agents and brokers are explaining this all, because we can't. You don't want the appraiser to wind up talking to, well, this is like COVID, when COVID first hit, and we were trying really hard. Look, the lender really needs to have that conversation with the borrower about whether they want the appraiser in the house or not, or that. But what wound up happening is they really put it in the appraiser's lap when they called to make the appointment. And so it was coming to us, we'd spend the time trying to schedule something, we wouldn't hear it. And people didn't want us coming in their house, or they did and they had no problem. But we were the ones, and it really, in my mind, it really should have been, hey, this is a borrower lender conversation. This is something, or with the realtor, and it's not something where you want the appraiser to start having to, because then too, you're getting more people involved, less people who, now you're leaving that relationship that you might have with your client to the appraiser, which the appraiser has no vested interest in the relationship other than, I just need to get in the house.
And that shouldn't be left up to the owner of the house. They have nothing to do with, they are not the client or customer of the appraiser, like you said earlier.
So the more you do on your end,
right,
the smoother it is, and the more your client, the more solid your relationship is with your client. Because, like I said, when it comes to us, we're not supposed to have that relationship.
Right.
So,
what about permitting? So, like in the North Carolina real estate newsletter that they release monthly, permitting issues have come up. And so how does an appraiser tell if an addition or something has been properly permitted to be included in the report?
Well, you have to do that homework. You have to contact the municipality, and I mean, gosh, you can imagine the things that in 30 years I've been doing it that we've seen. So it's all about covering yourself and making sure you turn, if you see some, because everything's not, nobody's going to come down on anybody for something that's nobody would have known. It's hey, look, that's obvious that somebody did something there
Oh,
and it
I
doesn't look
see.
right, and there's a separate fuse box, or there is a fuse box instead of a circuit breaker box. You know, I mean, there's things that you pick up,
Red
and,
flags.
and that's part of, you know, a lot of the technology, fintech and real estate technology, prop tech, are trying to kind of gloss over this. We don't, you know, the whole thing of people going, actual appraisers or professionals going on properties is overblown. That is the core of all of our, I mean, certainly broker and agents, certainly appraisers. That's the core of my understanding of a property, my ability
Absolutely.
to figure out what it is and what its place in the market is. And from measuring the house, when you measure a house as an appraiser or as an agent or broker, it forces you to spend your time outside the property, from the south side to the east side to the whatever. And while you're doing that, you're looking around, you're seeing things, you're seeing different views and perspectives. How many times I've seen that's where you, and then going into the house and you open the door and you just absorb immediately. The house hits you and you can feel it. That's the type of thing you can't really replace. And as an agent broker, having gone through so many houses, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. The smell,
Yes.
whatever it is,
Yes.
whatever the layout, just the comfort,
Right.
how there's always something that's you might be able to pick on an awkwardness that you might not see from paper, and
Right.
that you feel when you, or there, you know, I can't tell you how many times, not, it hasn't happened a ton of times, but between measuring the house and walking in, you're like, there's a space somewhere that's not jiving. And then you find, hey, there was another bathroom. It's just through this other door. It's when I train people, open every door.
That's
You
right.
know, don't think it's a linen closet. Open the door
That's
and look.
right.
And so.
That's so true. You know, whenever I'm meeting with clients to list their homes, unless I've been in the house, one of the first things I say is, don't, any of these prelim numbers I'm sharing with you now are subject to change once I step into the house, because that is where I really am able to hone in on value,
Right.
and kind of get more into the details. And I had a listing appointment, and I walked upstairs into the attic, which I thought was the attic, which turned out being where they had an additional bathroom that they were in the middle of putting in, and a bedroom. And I'm like, no.
Right.
Like, where's the permits? Who's the contractor? Like, I can't. And they're like, we don't have any of that. We're doing it ourselves. And I said, I cannot be your listing agent.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want
Sorry.
to get involved in that.
Yeah, I'm like, I am not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Your walk away button.
Yeah, bye guys. But
No.
yeah, I agree with you, Peter.
Right.
The
See,
vibe we walk in.
the thing is we get brokers and agents and appraisers. There seems to be this. I mean, there has to be a line, but we're cousins. I mean, what we do. It's not any, and that's with the association with NAR and everything. Really, what I try and, we're all family. We're all in it together. We're all the lender. We're all trying to we understand real estate is not, a house does not sell by pushing a button on a computer. No, I mean, everybody's trying to get there, but I'm sorry, I think a lot of the low-hanging fruit with technology has been taken. Everybody's trying to reconfigure kind of the same things. How can we do more technology? And you really can't. And there might be a time when tools are developed, but to me, they come and they go. I see a lot. We're giving a lot away, thinking we're going to get something. We're giving a lot of data and personal information out to make it easier to get something. And we really need to start to get away from that and focus back on, we need to provide things as professionals, and we do. And that's the human touch, and certainly there's great tools to use, but people come to us because we know something more than what's on Google, that what you can Google or what some app can tell you. They come to us because we have depth of knowledge. We just can bring it all together. There's a lot of things that technology just doesn't offer, and that's really what the new real estate professionals and any professional really has to. We have to get away from this thing where we don't want to do something. We don't want to provide this. We don't want to. That's too hard. Well, then nobody needs you.
Yeah.
Nobody needs you if you don't want to go and find out, that you need a surveyor, like you said, permitting. Well, I don't want to really dig and find this. No, I mean, that's a service you offer. And I hear it a lot from, measuring a house. I know it's not the easiest thing. But it really is not that difficult. And I know a lot of agents, they sub that out to a professional measure.
I do.
But there's something that you kind of need to know how to measure a house. You should measure a house because you got to know what you're selling. And if you give it to somebody who can do it better, and who can give you a piece of paper and put that liability somewhere else, but still, when it comes down to it, you hired that person.
Right.
They're wrong, then that comes back. It's still, don't think you're
on the agent, no matter what. Like,
yeah,
you got to be responsible for every single detail you put into that MLS.
Yeah, don't think you're getting away from liability. I mean, you still are going to have to answer for what, and having, hey, I relied on a professional, and I understand that, but not so much that particular thing, but it's an example of, if you're able to do something, you should do it, you should offer it. That's why people come to professionals, and that's our value. So.
With the house measuring, and that is one thing in real estate school that we go over a lot, right? Making sure we know how to do it, doing it accurately. And the reason I like to always just have a second set of eyes on everything I do, right? Like I couldn't live with myself knowing that I messed up a measurement of a room or anything like that. And then, so it's a level of comfort for me. Yes, I'm doing the measurements, or I'm double checking the measurements once I send them out so that I can speak to them and make sure that I agree with them.
You don't have to do it, but you do need to understand how it's done. I mean,
Absolutely.
My measurement story, when I was learning, and I had this an appraiser who, he had like the worst temper. He would he'd throw his phone up against the wall. You just hear all this chaos, and so of course they assigned me to him when I was a new hire, and I remember, like, do you have to measure like where the chimney goes up and around where the chimney? Like, no.
Oh God!
It's like little things like that. You have to be able to ask somebody. If you don't know, we talk about having an appraiser buddy. There's nothing like working together and being able to talk to each other, and go out and have a drink together.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, Pete, that's what I miss a lot about. I mean, we used to do a lot of work together. I mean, and just having not just the friendship, but that just the business, been able to bounce stuff off you, and likewise for you to me, and it's just I think that if that's kind of that's upsetting to me. It's been for years because we were good friends, and you always, like I said, you shot me straight. You didn't, you always told me like it was, and I think that's needed. If there's some way that we could, the HVCC code, if that could somehow we could order, use our own appraisal management companies again, that would be fantastic. But it's all kind of, I get it to a degree. It just kind of stinks that we don't have that business relationship. Like we're kind of separated.
Well, you remember you gave me Mark Savitz's information way back when all that was happening, and then I went to DC with Mark a lot, and Mark, I still talk. He's a mortgage broker in West Virginia,
Yeah.
And him and I talk still multiple times a week. You and I talk, and
Yeah.
then you know, those are, you win some, you lose some. We've lost a lot, but I mean, there's regulations tend to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and there's more, I think, to come, unfortunately,
Yeah.
for varying reasons, to try and address different things that, whether they're real or not, I don't know. But it's disappointing to see kind of things
How
keep getting.
that part of the business kind of
I don't know. We'll
yeah.
see.
Right.
But that's even more reason for us to keep in touch and keep
Right.
communicating, be involved in professional organizations,
Yep.
local
Always.
associations, because you need to know what's going on.
You want to, right? If you want to be the best at what you do, you got to be a student of the industry. And I know, Pete, you've always been like, when I think of an appraiser, I think of you. I mean, because you've always been a student. You're in the associations. You're going to the meetings, and so just thank you for your time again today. Because I don't know how many conversations me and Ashley have had about appraisers. I'm like, man, we got to get Pete on here.
Yes, thank you so much.
From a realtor standpoint, which I'm a realtor appraiser. I'm also a broker, but from that side, if there's any realtors out there, you're RPAC. I guess I have to do it because I know as an appraiser what it means not to have a voice. And that's why I'm heavily involved in the realtor associations, and I give to RPAC because it shows I'm a team player, and I appreciate what's being done locally, statewide, and national. And so if your realtors are out there, the $15, it's for what you get for that, just the 15, do it.
Nice.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I think that we had a lot of participation with this, Peter, and
yeah, we did. We had a ton. It's probably the biggest one yet. You're welcome.
I would like to see maybe this happen in the future again if you're open to it, because I am all about these relationships that you were just talking about. Like, I think it's so important that we have each other to rely on and to talk about, and to get points of views on different things that are coming down the pipeline, both with the legislative and just with headlines in general. Like, how can we clear through the muck, right, and deliver the goods to our clients?
Another thing that I'll just offer out there, because this is, people can watch us later probably, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is so look up NAR's Ask an Appraiser. There's 2 hour-long sessions that we did for NAR, and we had a great panel of appraisers, talked about all the same type of stuff. And there's a couple of links. There's an FAQ brochure that we worked on that's up there, and more information. They're kind of for agents, information for agents on the different type of appraisals, the hybrids, all these other kind of these mumbo jumbo things that products that are out there, and to know the differences between all of them. Know what an appraisal waiver is, what that means when a waiver's granted. That means that there's no appraisal there, because the DSEs have decided that they have enough information to go on, that they think it's the risk isn't there, that they don't need a full appraisal. So what kind of position that puts a buyer in, and a seller, more so the buyer, that they don't have an appraisal that they would normally have gotten, and just that verification of the value.
Maybe we can talk about that in a couple of weeks or something. Having back on talking about appraisal waivers. That's, this can be an ongoing thing for you. I mean, we've had a ton of comments and questions and stuff that asked about this, because it's a huge topic. I mean, it's a big topic. So if you'd be willing to kind of do that, that would be awesome.
Sure, I'm not going anywhere.
I know you're not. I got your number.
And now you know how to use this feature here on social media.
Yeah. So,
well,
awesome. To get my color back.
I'll hook you up with a stylist. Angelo can too, I'm sure.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate your time. Sorry we ran a little bit over than we wanted to, but very informative. That's why we kept on going. Thanks so much. Thanks, Ash. And any questions you got go for the next one that Pete's going to be on, please let us know. Put your comments below. Ask, follow us, share us if you think we're informative, and let's get the word out. So,
Yep.
thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Bye,
Bye.
Pete.
Okay,
Thanks,
see ya.
buddy.